Hello everyone, we're talking about the development of tongue and the thyroid, and in this section we'll deal with the parts of the tongue. So this section has been divided into further sections. The first section will be dealing with the sources of development of the tongue. We'll see what are the various sources that give rise to various components of the adult tongue. Then we'll see the muscular components of the tongue, that is how various muscular components of the tongue develop and what is their relation with their embryological innervation. Finally, we'll see the relationship between the anterior part of the tongue and the floor of the mouth. So there are a lot of details going on here, but it's a very interesting section. I hope you are interested. Let's move into the section and see what happens. So first of all, the sources of development of tongue. We talked about this before. The sources of development. The tongue has been developmentally divided into into two parts. The first part is formed by the lingual swellings and the tuberculum impar, which is known as the oral part of the tongue. The pharyngeal part of the tongue is formed by the hypobranchial eminence. The hypobranchial eminence with the passage of time undergoes subdivision to form a large cranial part and a small caudal part. So these are the two lingual swellings in orange. This is the tuberculum impar. The central, this black dot represents foramen cecum, which would be dealt with in the development of thyroid. This is the hypobranchial eminence, which divides into a green cranial part, which is the larger part, and a blue smaller caudal part. So the sources of development are actually the two lingual swellings, the tuberculum impar, the cranial part of hypobranchial eminence, and the caudal part of the hypobranchial eminence. Now let's talk about the development what structures form what structures in the human adult tongue. So the anterior 2/3 of the tongue are actually formed by the two lingual swellings coming together with the tuberculum impar. Tuberculum impar is actually a vestigial component, does not actually form any part of the adult human tongue. So the posterior 1/3 of the tongue is formed by the cranial part of the hypobranchial eminence, and finally the posterior most part of the tongue is formed by the caudal part of the hypobranchial eminence. So let's look at the figure here and see how that happens. This is the anterior 2/3 of the tongue. The anterior 2/3 are formed by the lingual swellings. These are in orange. The lingual swellings were represented in orange in the slide before as well. They fuse in the midline, in the median plane, and help in the formation of the anterior 2/3 of the tongue, which are actually the oral parts of the tongue. Now the posterior 1/3 of the tongue is formed by this in green. This is formed by the cranial part of the hypobranchial eminence, and the posterior most part of the tongue as well as the epiglottis, they are formed by the caudal part of the hypobranchial eminence. So the two lateral lung swellings, they overgrow the tuberculum impar. Tuberculum impar, being a vestigial part, does not form any adult structures. They merge to form the anterior 2/3 of the tongue. The line of fusion, is the median sulcus on the dorsal surface. So the median sulcus, it represents the line of fusion of the two parts or two lateral lingual swelling, which is this dotted line. So now moving on, there is no recognizable portion that is developed from the tuberculum impar. Now the mucous membrane, which covers the anterior 2/3 of the tongue, it develops from the first pharyngeal arch, because the lingual swellings, they develop from the first pharyngeal arch. Hence they are divided by the mandibular branch of the trigeminal nerve. This trigeminal nerve is actually the nerve of the first pharyngeal arch, and this is the reason the anterior 2/3 of the tongue are supplied by the mandibular branch of the trigeminal nerve. Now moving on to the posterior 1/3 of the tongue, it develops from the cranial part of the hypobranchial eminence. So the hypobranchial eminence, this is shown in the figure here. Now the hypobranchial eminence is divided into a cranial part, which was the larger part, and a caudal part, which was the smaller part. Now the cranial part of the hypobranchial eminence forms the posterior 1/3 of the tongue. The line of fusion of the anterior 2/3 and the posterior 1/3 of the tongue is the sulcus terminalis. So this line of fusion that actually lies between the anterior 2/3, that is the lateral lingual swellings, and the cranial part of the hypobranchial eminence, it is marked by the sulcus terminalis in adults. Now this part, the posterior 1/3 of the tongue, is supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve because because this hypobranchial eminence originates from third pharyngeal arch in particular. Hence the glossopharyngeal nerve supplies this cranial part of the cranial part of hypobranchial eminence. Now we're talking about the posterior most part of the tongue. This posterior most part of the tongue is in blue, as well as the epiglottis. Now they develop from the caudal part of the hypobranchial eminence. We've talked about it before. The hypobranchial eminence is divided into a cranial part. The cranial part formed the posterior 1/3 of the tongue, and the caudal part. The caudal part is responsible for the formation of the posterior most part of the tongue, as well as the epiglottis. It is supplied by the superior laryngeal nerve. Superior laryngeal nerve is a branch of vagus nerve, which is the nerve of the fourth pharyngeal arch. Hence, the superior laryngeal nerve is responsible for the nerve supply of this area. Now, during development, we've talked about the nerve of first pharyngeal arch, the nerve of third pharyngeal arch, the glossopharyngeal nerve, and the nerve of fourth pharyngeal arch, the vagus nerve. However, we have not talked about the nerve of second pharyngeal arch, the facial nerve. So let's see why that is. Actually, during the process of growth, process of development, there's overgrowth in the mesenchyme of the third pharyngeal arch. These are the pharyngeal arches. In orange, we have the first pharyngeal arch. In yellow, we have the second pharyngeal arch. In green, the third pharyngeal arch. In blue, the fourth pharyngeal arch. So here you can see this is the first pharyngeal arch, which forms the anterior 2/3 of the tongue. So the mesenchyme of the third pharyngeal arch, it actually overgrows or arches over the mesenchyme of the second pharyngeal arch, as a result of which the mesenchyme of second pharyngeal arch is buried deep inside. So the hypobranchial eminence is actually formed by the contribution of third and fourth pharyngeal arches, as a result of which the cranial part of the hypobranchial eminence corresponds to the mesenchyme of third pharyngeal arch, and the caudal part corresponds to the mesenchyme of the fourth pharyngeal arch, and the components from the second pharyngeal arch are actually lost. So let's see how that happens. The third arch mesoderm, this in green, the third arch mesoderm, it grows over the mesoderm of the second arch and fuses with the mesoderm of fourth arch. Here you can see that in the figure. Now the second arch, it gets buried deep underneath the third arch, and it gets excluded from the development of the tongue. Now, the muscles of tongue, we have talked about them before as well. The muscles of tongue, they develop from the occipital myotomes. So they develop from myoblasts that migrate into the developing tongue from the occipital myotomes. So in the occipital regions, we have these myotomal components. These myotomal components, they migrate as myoblast into the developing tongue and help in the formation of the muscles of the developing tongue. These occipital myotomes are actually supplied by the hypoglossal nerve. When they migrate to the developing tongue, this hypoglossal nerve migrates along with these migrating cells, and hence it retains its nerve supply, and this is the nerve supply of most of the muscles of adult tongue. So hypoglossal nerve, it innervates the occipital myotomes and supplies the adult tongue. So let's see what is the correlation of nerve supply with tongue development. So the mucous membrane and taste buds of the anterior 2/3 of the tongue. Now the source of development of this anterior 2/3 is the endodermal lining of the first and second arches, and the nerve supply is the lingual nerve, which is actually a branch of mandibular nerve being the branch of trigeminal nerve being the nerve of first arch. There, it also has some fibers from chorda tympani nerve, a branch of the facial nerve. Now the mucous membrane and taste buds of the posterior 1/3 of the tongue, they develop from the endodermal lining of the third pharyngeal arch, because they are formed by the cranial component of the hypobranchial eminence, and they are supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve, which is the nerve of the third arch. Now the mucous membrane and the taste buds of the posterior most part of the tongue, that develop from the endodermal lining of the fourth pharyngeal arch and supplied by the superior laryngeal nerve of the fourth pharyngeal arch, which is a branch of vagus nerve. And muscles of the tongue are developed from occipital myotomes, and they retain their nerve supply, that is the hypoglossal nerve, which is the nerve supply of occipital myotomes. Now let's see what is the relationship between the anterior part of the tongue and the floor of the mouth. So the development of tongue and lingogingival sulci in the region of mandibular process takes place. So this is the developing tongue, and this is the lingogingival sulci. It can be pronounced both ways, the lingogingival or the lingogingival, however you want to say gingiva or gingiva. So the developing tongue and the lingogingival sulcus are being formed in this process. So the separation of tongue from the floor of mouth is by the deepening of this lingogingival sulcus, and this deepening of this lingogingival sulcus helps in the separation of the anterior portion of the tongue or the entirety of the tongue from the floor of the mouth. So the mandibular process forms three structures. We have talked about this before in the development of face. The mandibular process, it helps in the formation of the lower lip and the lower part of the cheeks. It also helps in the formation of lower jaw and as well as the tongue. So this lingogingival sulcus, it develops on either side of this developing tongue, and it separates the tongue from the floor of the mouth cavity, as a result of which you can move your tongue within the oral cavity. So this was all about this section. In this section we talked about the development of tongue, the various components of the tongue, and how what were the sources of various adult components of human tongue. We talked about the muscles that are a part of the human tongue, their innervation, and how they retain their innervation to be the hypoglossal nerve. Finally, we talked about the sulcus that develops between the tongue and the floor of the mouth, the lingogingival sulcus that helps in the movement of tongue within the oral cavity. I hope you understood this lecture. For further such sections, keep watching sqadia.com.